just enable a feature in an application firewall which says encrypt all URLs coming from the application. And the thing is, if the vendor tells you it's just a switch, he's partly true. Because if you have a complicated application using Flash and JavaScript, the URL may be constructed in the browser. So if the WAF doesn't have an API to give you the power basically to jump into that script and rearrange stuff in there, then it's worthless to you. You can't use that feature. Okay, and next thing is what can be achieved with application firewalls. So it's big table with, in brackets, wanted functionality. It's like your business functionality you want out of an application firewall, and it goes by examples like cost guides, request forgery, session fixation, some whatever injection, SQL injection, LDAP injection, XML, XPath injection, and things like that. And there's a rating next to these. So if you see the plus next on that table, it can be very well implemented using an application firewall. With a minus, it can't be implemented. Exclamation mark says it depends on the application or the WAF, all the requirements you have. And the last one is basically it can be partly implemented in a WAF.
So will you speak on what can be well implemented using a firewall in this talk, or go to the paper?
Yeah, just go to the paper. 45 minutes is just not enough. It would cover basically 3 hours going through all the table and explain all necessary things.
I was just also the follow-up. If it can be well implemented by a firewall, are you adjusting your other controls in terms of, for that particular vulnerability, we don't use either source code analysis as heavily, or
depends.
We don't include it as part of our protocol for our vulnerability scanning.
Yeah.
How are you mixing web app firewall relative to your other controls?
This is actually up to you, because we were thinking of writing like an advisory what you actually should do. But it turns out in different parts of the world, people deal with different measures to a problem. In Asia, for example, they say, well, we're too busy. We just fix it in the WAF, put it on a to-do list, and if we have time, maybe we fix it in the future. At the moment, we're secure. In Germany, there's the engineering mind, which says, oh, if we have to, then we fix it in the WAF, but only if we have to. But we definitely have to fix it in the source code, regardless if there's a new version next week or whatever. It has to be fixed now. And in America, it's kind of depends on company policy, really.
How many times do you want to look for a CSRF?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So you have to see it from different angles, really. And so we thought we can write it as a German paper, but it would be very straight and like we've got a form for everything in Germany, so you have to fill that out first and then get a stamp on that. Once you've got that, then you're fine. But I think it's not the aim of the paper. Then benefits and risks of application firewalls, we have to look at that. So main benefit of application firewall basically is it gives you a good baseline security, because you can get signatures from vendors. They do all the legwork for you, catching SQL injection stuff, and they try to get cross-site scripting and things like this. And they've got labs and guys working on that, and they normally know what they're doing. So you can benefit of that knowledge really easily. Then compliance, if you fall under the PCI DSS regulation, you have to be compliant, just implement it. At the moment, it just tells you that you need one. You actually have to switch it on, and you don't need a rule set for that. It doesn't define that if you enable any rule set. It says you have to take care of cross-site scripting, but if somebody comes and looks at the whole thing, they say, okay, what did you do about cross-site scripting? And then you can go to the application and say, look, this is the application firewall. It has a switch for cross-site scripting. It has not yet switched on, but we're going to in the future. And the guy auditing you says, okay, at the moment. And just-in-time patching of problems. So if you have a problem with one form, for example, input field or something like that, you can fix that really easily. So additional benefits, I mentioned already URL encryption. If you have an appliance basically on the front, you could use it as an SSL termination point or SSL acceleration point, whatever you like. There are a few features you can use which are quite good for you. You've got a central reporting and error logging facility basically if you implement a WAF, because everything goes through that. This is for obviously for appliances as well as for software-based solutions if they are cluster aware. Okay, and
one question on the just-in-time patching. So did you kind of look at or studied any vendors, because there is kind of a recent third-party vendor applications running in your environment, kind of just you developing the environment or application from ground zero, right? So if, for example, a vendor gives you a pack and you kind of like you gave the example of SAP, right? You know, company use Oracle, e-business suite, and build a kind of business suite, and it's very difficult to, even if the vendor makes the application patch, it's difficult to forget, right? Just in time patching, have you seen any experience with SAP or other vendors?
yeah, so most of the time, if they don't use or change major numbers, you're normally fine. You can actually read the release notes for the security patches and say they fixed this. And if you have a contract with them, they also tell you the dirty details about that. Normally they say, well, fixed injection problem in form whatever. Yeah, that's very detailed information for them. But if you actually have to ask what form is it and what variable in the form. And they tell you if you have a support contract. If you don't, they just say, well, buy a support contract. And then you can patch it and have peace of mind, more or less. The first thing you should do actually is go to your test system, install the patch, and try actually what they tried to fix. There was one occasion I was working on a project with SAP, and they had a buffer overflow problem. So to demonstrate that, I put in around 1,000 A's on my keyboard, and said, if you press now enter, it just blows up in your face. And if you do it the right way, basically you can do command injection. Not command injection. You can do trigger buffer overflow and go stack up and down and just own the box. It just takes some time. And they came out with a patch basically, so it fixed it more or less for the 1,000 A's, but it didn't fix it for the 1,000 B's. I tried next. So the patch wasn't any good really, so test it. I wouldn't believe them most of the time. Okay, so risks involved in using a replication firewall. One big risk is a false positive, which denies you business, good business. Somebody tries to press the submit button on this big order, and he gets an 4-3 denied or something like that, forbidden. And this is a big risk. And increased complexity, of course, because you add another thing to your application network, whatever you like, infrastructure, and the complexity goes up. So the problem sometimes is that if you have to implement security, people are not working together to begin with. They just say, the application developers say, well, we write secure code, so we're using some source code static analysis tools as well, so we are secure. But